Wall Street didn't just nudge home builders, it walked into the sector with a shotgun and said, "We're done believing this story." And if you're a man trying to protect your money, your family, or your future place to live, you need to understand what that really means. Because the numbers behind these downgrades are uglier than anything we saw heading into 2008. This isn't clickbait, it's arithmetic. The day Wall Street flinched on October 7th, Evercore ISI, one of the most respected research shops on Wall Street, downgraded 6 major home builders in one sweep. D.R. Horton, Lennar, Pult Group, KB Home, Meritage, and Tri Pointe. These aren't niche players. Together, companies like these build roughly 1 out of every 3 new homes in America. The lead analyst, Stephen Kim, said the quiet part out loud. Mortgage rates have come down from the peak, but a meaningful demand response has not yet emerged. Translation for men who think in straight lines, rates improved a bit. Affordability should have improved. If demand was healthy, buyers would have come back. They didn't. That's not a supply issue, that's a demand strike. People either can't buy or they're refusing to buy at these prices. Targets were slashed. KB Home, for example, saw its Evercore target cut and rating drop to inline. Other firms have done the same with multiple builders over the last year. Barclays, Raymond James, JP Morgan. The pattern is clear. The street is quietly repositioning from housing boom to margin squeeze and weak demand across the entire sector. Now, you could ignore analyst opinions. Lots of them are late or wrong, but you cannot ignore what the builders' own financial statements are screaming. The number that made analysts double-check the file, Lennar, the second largest home builder in America, just printed a number that should make any rational man sit up straight. In Q3 2024, Lennar's gross margin on home sales was 22.5%. In Q3 2025, that margin collapsed to 17.5%. That's a 500 basis point drop in 1 year. Gross margin is the money left after land, lumber, labor, and basic build costs. When that collapses this fast, you're not in a soft patch. You're in a fight for survival of pricing power. At the same time, Lennar's average selling price fell from around $422,000 to the high $380,000s, roughly a 9% drop in a year. Management openly admitted the only way they held volume was by stacking incentives. Mortgage rate buydowns, closing cost help, upgrades, all of which crush margin. D.R. Horton, the largest builder in the country, is in the same boat. Recent quarters show home gross margins around 21.8%, down from roughly 24% a year earlier. Management is guiding for margins to fall further and openly saying incentives will stay high. Pult Group, home sale gross margin, has slid from 29.9% to about 26-27% year over year. Toll Brothers, the luxury name, saw home sales gross margin fall from 27.4% to 25.6%. Luxury, entry-level, move up, it doesn't matter. Margins are getting choked everywhere. When you see prices down, incentives up. Margins crushed, yet demand is still weak. You're not looking at a simple rate problem. You're looking at a systemic affordability failure. The affordability math that breaks the system. Let's strip the emotion and run the numbers like a balance sheet. 1. 75% of households are locked out of new homes. According to the National Association of Homebuilders in 2025, the median price of a new single-family home is $459,826. At a 30-year mortgage rate of 6.5%, 74.9% of U.S. households, about 100.6 million, cannot afford that home. 3 out of 4 households are mathematically priced out before we even talk about bidding wars, repairs, or kids. 2. Price to income is back at bubble territory. Look at the ratio that really matters. Median existing home price, roughly $440K, and for much of 2024-2025 median U.S. household income, around $83 or $85K, you're sitting at roughly 5+ times income nationwide. Right in the neighborhood of 2006-2007, when the last great housing bubble rolled over. Many metros are worse. Historically, the healthy threshold was around 3x income. Above 4x, you're stretched. Above 5x, you're in fantasy land unless rates are extremely low. They're not. 3. The NAHB priced out study. NAHB's own priced out analysis is brutal. At 459, that's 226 and 6.5% rates. A household needs about 141,000's income to qualify under standard underwriting. That single price interest point combination kicks 100.6 million households out of the market. Every extra $1,000 in price knocks another 115,000 households out. This isn't a vibe, it's math. And the math doesn't care about housing shortage narratives when the payment simply doesn't pencil out. The lock-in effect. Why the market feels stuck. Here's the phenomenon no generation before us has dealt with at this scale. Roughly 80% plus of existing homeowners have mortgage rates below 6%. A majority locked in at 4% or less during 2020 to 2021. Now compare that to today. 30-year fixed mortgage rates have hovered around 6.3, 6.8% through much of 2025. Take a simple example. House, $400,000 old rate, 3%. New rate, 6.5%. At 3%, principal plus interest is roughly in the high 1,600s per month. At 6.5%, for the same price, you're in the mid-2400s. That's about 800 plus more per month, nearly 10,000 a year, just to live in a different box of roughly the same value. So what happens? People don't move for a new job. They don't upsize when they have more kids. They don't downsize in retirement. They sit, they're rate locked. This is why. Existing home sales fell to around 4.0 million in 2024, the lowest level since 1995. Inventory from existing owners stays artificially low, even though millions would sell in a normal rate environment. Builders saw that gap and thought, perfect, we'll build into the void. But they ran into the same wall, payments. The lock-in effect freezes supply from existing owners and forces buyers toward new builds, but at prices and rates that still don't work for 3/4 of the country. So the system grinds, not crashes. The first-time buyer is getting wiped out. If you're a man under 40 trying to buy your first home, you're not imagining it. The ladder is being pulled up in real time. According to the National Association of Realtors, first-time buyers fell to a historic low of 24% of purchases in the 2023-2024 period. Newer data shows that share dropping further to around 21% in 2025, the lowest since NAR started tracking in 1981. The median age of a first-time buyer has climbed to about 40, up from roughly 30 to 31 in the 1980s, 1920s, 90s, and 33 just a few years ago. In plain language, your father might have bought his first house at 27. You're now expected to wait until your late 30s or 40. That's a decade of lost equity build, lost fixed housing costs while rent climbs, lost tax advantages. Housing stopped being a wealth-building on-ramp and turned into a gated community where only older, higher-income buyers get in. Florida and Texas, the canary in the coal mine. Whenever there's a major turn in the U.S. housing cycle, it usually shows up in a few hot growth states first. Right now, Florida and Texas are flashing red. Florida statewide listings have surged sharply compared with a year ago. Multiple data providers are showing 20% plus year-over-year inventory growth in many Florida metros. Insurance costs have exploded, especially in hurricane-exposed coastal counties. Annual premiums that were $3,000, $5,000 a few years ago are now commonly 5 figures for newer, more expensive homes. ac.rizamedia.com. You drive through new communities and see builder flags on every corner, rate buy-down banners, move-in ready, incentives available on street after street. That's code for, we built too much at too high a price, and we need to move this inventory now. Texas followed the same pandemic script. Massive inbound migration from California, New York, Illinois. Builders responded with aggressive subdivision and spec home construction around Austin, Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio land. Labor and materials were bid up during the 2021-2022 spike now, with mortgage rates constraining buyers. Builders in many Texas metros are leaning hard on incentives, in some cases spending low double-digit percentages of revenue to make deals happen. Certain submarkets are reporting streets with dozens of vacant spec homes, reminiscent of early signs in the 2005-2007 Sand State, busts in AZNVFLCA. This is how 2008 started, regional stress, not a national explosion all at once. Builder confidence. the guys in the arena are nervous. The NAHB Wells Fargo Housing Market Index, Builder Confidence, is the mood ring of the home building industry. Any reading above 50, downgrade more builders see conditions as good than poor. Below 50, they think conditions are bad. In 2020's COVID boom, the index hit 90, pure euphoria. Nabi.org. By mid-2025, the HMI has been stuck in the low 30s, deeply negative, for well over a year. Reuters. Around 35 to 40% of builders report cutting prices each month. Roughly 2/3 are using incentives, rate buydowns, free upgrades, closing cost help to keep deals alive. When the people whose entire business is to be optimistic about building and selling houses are this pessimistic for this long, you should pay attention. Worse than 2008. But different. Here's where you need to be precise. This is how grown men think. Same words, different mechanics. How it's not 2008. Back then, around 1/3 of mortgages were subprime or no doc trash. People with awful credit were getting $500,000 loans with zero down. When prices dipped, millions were underwater and walked away. Today, only about 1 to 2% of loans are true subprime. The average FICO on new mortgages is over 700. Delinquencies and foreclosures are still near historic lows. Roughly 60% of homes have no mortgage at all, and total tappable home equity is measured in trillions. So we're probably not going to see a tidal wave of foreclosures and forced selling like 2008. How it is worse. Where 2008 was a credit quality crisis, 2025 is an affordability and access crisis. Prices are still near record highs relative to income. Rates are much higher than the 2010s. First-time buyers are being pushed into their late 30s and 40s. The share of first-time buyers has cratered to low 20% range, far below the old 40% norm. That means younger men are effectively blocked from ownership. The typical owner is older, wealthier, and locked into low rates. The market doesn't crash, it stagnates, flat or slightly falling nominal prices. Plus, persistent inflation, Berkshire real, inflation adjusted, price declines over time. That's a slow, grinding correction, not a dramatic headline one. Buffett's move, what it really signals for you. You've probably seen the headlines, Buffett bets on Homebuilders, or Berkshire buys Lennar and D.R. Horton. Here's what actually happened. In 2023, Berkshire opened positions in D.R. Horton, Lennar, and NVR. More recently, Berkshire disclosed stakes worth hundreds of millions in Lennar and D.R. Horton, alongside a much bigger bet on United Health and others. As of mid-2025, Homebuilders are still a small piece of Berkshire's portfolio and more tactical than core. What does that tell you? Berkshire isn't betting on next quarter. It's betting that 10 years from now, America will still need millions of homes, and the surviving builders will print money again. For you, that means if your horizon is a decade, selectively buying the strongest builders on big sell-offs may make sense. If your horizon is 2 or 3 years, you're walking into a margin squeeze and choppy demand. Buffett can sit on a position through 5 ugly years waiting for the payoff. The average retail guy cannot. Know which one you are. So what do you do as a man in this market? Let's cut the fluff and talk strategy. 1. If you don't own, yet you are not in the 2006 buy now or be priced out forever world. You are in a world where builders are bleeding margin. Incentives are rising. Inventory of new homes is elevated, month supply above the old 6-month balanced level in many periods. That means you can negotiate. You can walk away. Time is on your side more than theirs. Practical rules. Only buy if you can see yourself staying 7 to 10 years. Keep total housing costs at or below 28-30% of gross income. Do not stretch just because a builder is dangling free granite and a 2-1 buydown. If you're in Florida or Texas, be extra cautious. Those markets are the tip of the spear when overbuilding meets higher rates. 2. If you already own with a low rate. You're sitting on a strategic asset, a cheap, fixed payment in an inflated housing system. Treat it like this. Don't sell unless you must. Don't trade a 3% 30-year mortgage for a 6 to 7% one without a serious, quantified reason. Use the stability to pay down other high-interest debt, build cash reserves, and improve your balance sheet. In a frozen market, the man with a low fixed payment and no panic is the one who wins. 3. If you're looking at homebuilder stocks, understand the cycle. Margins are compressing. Incentives are high builder. Sentiment is deeply negative. Yet long-term demand fundamentals, underbuilding for a decade, demographic need, are still there. So expect volatile quarters, ugly earnings, guidance cuts, analyst downgrades. The best entries are usually when everyone hates the sector, not when CNBC is running housing is back segments. Focus on balance sheets, land strategy, and margin discipline, not just PE multiples. Remember, Buffett isn't buying because things look good. He's buying because they look bad but survivable. The bottom line, this is a slow burn crisis. Housing today is not a Hollywood crash scene, it's a war of attrition between buyers and payments, between builders and their margins, between older, locked-in owners and younger men trying to get a foothold. Wall Street finally fired a warning shot with those homebuilder downgrades. Margins confirm it. Affordability math confirms it. First-time buyer data confirms it. So your job now is not to panic, your job is to position. Be patient, not passive. Be data-driven, not emotional. Protect your low rate if you have one. Refuse to overpay if you don't. In distorted markets, the man who wins is not the one who moves fastest. It's the one who keeps his head while everyone else is either frozen or desperate. If you want more breakdowns like this, with actual numbers, not headlines, subscribe, drop a comment on whether you're buying, holding, or waiting, and we'll keep doing the work most people are too lazy to do.